Where do you live? What state do you live in?
I'm in Washington.
How does illegal immigration even impact you in the slightest?
If I stop right wing. If I took the time to properly write out a definition.
So why do people vote for Biden? Many of them vote.
Oh, why does this happen? I know why it happens. Because you have the conclusion first, and you go and you shop for the opinions to make it match. I think David Pacman's performance here is not good. I think he's made like several huge follies. Luke, however, eviscerated Tim Pool. It wasn't even close. Karen Bass did not cut $17 million from the fire budget. California, and especially LA, is controlled by Democrats. They are responsible. No more passing the buck.
Well, let's look at the debate that truly exposed the game that David Pacman plays. This is versus Patrick Bet David on Valuetainment.
If this is your space,
yeah,
what's your podcast about?
What is it about?
What's your show about?
News and politics.
You should know this stuff.
He calls it out.
Wait, how old is this Patrick Bet David combo? Or combo, wait. PBD, David Pacman. It's just the entire fiasco. Oh, damn, this was a fiasco. Did we ever watch this? I don't remember.
Opinion. What is it about?
What's your show about?
How triggered am I going to get watching this? Oh boy, hold on.
I mean, I don't know.
But what do you mean? True? You don't think it's true?
Of course, in a country of 330 million people, there are going to be some.
No, but you said you don't know if it's true. It's like, what do you mean you don't know if it's true? I don't know how many.
But it could be that there was one thing he said that they really.
So let me ask you a question. Is there something wrong with that? I'm curious. Are you going to a place where there's something wrong with that, or
no? It's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's a question of
what are they talking about?
Which was people who were not in any of those three categories I mentioned and got engaged in politics for the first time because they heard Trump say something that they liked.
Give some examples of those type of, like, you talk about West Virginia coal miners or people from Deep Red South.
They were from all over, but it was people who liked that Trump was going to fix trade with China. A lot of them didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded pretty good. Maybe the person had lost a job. They came to believe it's because of China that I lost my job. That sounds good. Or people who are on immigration. They're like, the wall. Of course, you and I know you're never building a wall. Never mind, Mexico's going to pay for it. But there were people who liked the idea, never were in politics. Like, no, it sounds good. I'm voting for Trump. So he brought in this fourth group.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the fourth group, to be exact, it's his personality that people were turned on by the way he was.
Could be personality, but it could be that there was one thing he said that they really.
So let me ask you a question. Is there something wrong with that? I'm curious. Are you going to a place where there's something wrong with that, or
no? It's not about right or wrong. It's a question of whether any of us think that the policy motivations for any of those groups align with ours.
Somebody may say there's a lot of people that showed up for Obama just because he was black.
Sure, they can say that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
What do you mean? You don't think it's true?
Of course, in a country of 330 million people, there are going to be some.
No, but you said you don't know if it's true. It's like, what do you mean you don't know if it's true? I don't know how many. You don't have any data? You want to get data to say people showed up just because they're black?
There's exit polling on most of these issues. We might be able to.
Oh, he should have just said yes. That's an easy yes. There's a lot of people that voted for Obama because he was the first black president. That's an easy yes. Yeah, of course. Sure.
Find it right now. You know.
No, it's it's
fair to say people voted for him. Because he was
I cannot even tell you how many people. I knew Republicans who were voting for Obama in the insurance industry just because, like, listen, man, the first time this guy talks like MLK, he sounds reasonable. I'm going to vote for the guy. There's a lot of people that came out with him. So somebody may say, well, the reason why Obama got elected because he's got the three typical things when he talks to the Democrat, but the fourth thing is he was black.
Okay.
And are you going to say what?
I would say, yeah, I'm sure that there's a portion of people who vote based on that.
So you're saying the DNA of a Trump MAGA voter who looks past policy. So you're saying on the three policies he didn't check off the three policies here, the 3 points. You're saying that.
I'm saying he didn't build the wall, or I'm not.
Let me take a step back with you. So I'm asking you a question, and I said, so tell me if you're saying he's going to get reelected without COVID. You're saying he would have gotten reelected.
I think he would have.
Perfect. And then you said something in the context of because I think the MAGA voter is not about policies. That's what you said.
Yes. A lot of that fourth group, is not about overarching accomplishments. Or I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and maybe it'll help to distill it. I got a call at some point during the first term of Trump from a guy who said, I'm voting for this guy. This guy's just the best. And I said, oh, okay. What do you care about? How are you evaluating his performance to decide if you're going to vote for him in 2020? Like, I'm curious. How do you decide? He said, well, I care about the wall. So he's got to build that wall. And I said, perfect. If he doesn't build the wall, are you still going to vote for him? And he says, well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. So I said, oh, so it doesn't actually matter if he builds the wall.
I'm staying with you as well, though. There's no way you're voting for a Republican either. Would you vote for a Republican?
Sure. Yeah.
Have you ever voted for a Republican president?
No, I mean, I've only voted for a few elections.
Yeah,
but hold on a second.
But you're 40 years old.
If you haven't voted for a Republican, that means you would never vote for a Republican? That doesn't necessarily follow, but okay.
You're 1984, so
I'm 38, please.
84, 38 years old. 38 is still you've had.
38 means that he's had, what what was his first possible president could have voted for? Bush 2? Could even, I think, right? Wouldn't it have been, it would have been second term of Bush 2, and then it would have been Obama. Like what? Geez, okay.
Plenty of elections.
Let's back up for a second.
That's not that many elections.
There's two questions. Would I and have I? I've only voted in a few presidential elections.
You've had plenty of chances.
Well, but who did I vote for? I was going to vote for George W. Bush in 2004. No.
But it doesn't matter. The point is, when you're calling that guy out, you're the same as that guy.
No, I'm not.
No, that's not. Oh my God.
Okay, so tell me a Republican you'd vote for.
What do you want, Hydrate? You're spamming.
I think you're missing the picture. I think
What is it then?
The point is, he made.
What do you want?
What up, man?
Wait, are you Hydra 4?
Yeah, that's me from Discord. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what's up?
I just wanted to, I'm a longtime fan. I started watching you back in like 16 when you were Baby Striker and the frickin' Bloodsport shit. I just wanted to like talk to you about, you seem to like completely shift your tune moving forward or whatever, your plan.
Hold on, it's very hard to understand you. Are you like on a phone right now, like driving, or?
I've got my AirPods in. Yeah, I'm outside. Can you not hear me?
I don't know if your hair is like getting in front of them or if something's happened, but it sounds like they keep getting like covered up, basically.
Is that any better?
I don't know. You're talking again, but go ahead.
Can you hear me better now or no?
You have to talk a little bit before I can. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, just like a lot of your characterizations of like conservatives nowadays are the exact same thing you used to say about like conservatives and liberals. Like it's only every time you reference a conservative or conservative policy now, it's the same type of thing you used to say about, blue-haired liberals on college campus, and that's the only examples they ever give. And like, don't you think there's any room to be or to understand the issue? Like, I haven't heard you guys once talk about, what the Dems got wrong this election. Like, you can agree that there's probably some people that are grifters or that are like just jumping on the Trump bandwagon, but there's been so many Democrats that have basically, switched to Trump's policies, or not switched to Trump's policies, but I mean, voted for Trump over the Dems. Do you not acknowledge that like there's been a massive problem on the left and it should be corrected? Like, where's the reform in the Democratic Party?
I've already said this. I've talked about this a lot. It has to do with the approach to the media environment. My criticisms are much more harsh now of conservatives because I think they've ran out of like moral rope. I think that the Conservative Party is like a wholly immoral institution right now. And the fact that Donald Trump is still the head of that party, I think speaks a lot to the general character of a conservative or anybody that would support him. So, I mean, obviously there are things that Democrats have to do. We've all talked about that. I've talked about this a million times. But I don't know what else I'm supposed to say for the millionth time about it.
Gotcha. Maybe I just haven't caught it. It seems like a lot of it's not been. Like I heard a bunch of the Bridges stuff after the election or whatnot. You're like plan moving forward with like going hard, on a media environment. And I don't know. I don't like QIT at all, but I think like Shank's position, like moving forward, trying to work with them and like pointing out the things that the left got wrong. Like the Dems got crushed fucking everywhere, man. There's clearly some issues, and like I feel like now it's like I'm completely right for the most part on almost all issues, except like some social stuff. But like I feel now is like a great time for you and the normal people on the left to like grab a hold of the party and like redirect it. But I feel like there's very few people on the left that are actually like wanting to reform. It's all like still attacking.
Well, I don't think it doesn't have anything to do with reforming. It just has to do with like clarifying like messaging. I think that's the thing that that Democrats are getting slaughtered on right now. It just has to do with messaging.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot not a crap load of honest people. Like I don't like Shank and them and whatnot, but like same with you. I respect you as like an honest person for the most part. The ideas and issues. I don't know. I want there to be a healthy both sides. Yeah, I don't know. That's basically what I'm saying. I haven't heard you at all, Art. Maybe I've missed it.
I'm focusing on the messaging. The messaging is the most important thing, right? Honest people or whatever don't matter. None of that matters. Policies don't matter. The economy and everything doesn't matter. It's just the messaging is the only thing that matters now. And it sucks because conservatives literally control at least one of the media platforms right now. So
yeah, I think messaging. it honestly does matter. I mean, that's where the immigration argument got lost. That's where the trans argument got lost. That's where like a lot of the arguments got lost is honesty. The Democrats would not come to come to terms with like the problems that were happening, and they were so afraid to even talk about some of these issues, being labeled bigots or racist or whatnot. Like, low skilled immigration hurts poor people the most in the United States.
Where do you live? What state do you live in?
I'm in Washington.
How does illegal immigration even impact you in the slightest?
I'm not talking me personally at all. No, I don't. I just think that legal immigration as a whole is negatively affects poor people like literally the most.
Where? In what states? Where are they? Why is California liberal if they have so many illegal immigrants in California? Like, what
do you think low skilled wages or low skilled immigrants or what jobs are they taking? You think they're taking mid level management jobs? They're taking any upper management jobs? They're literally taking the bottom of the barrel. There's way more competition on the lower rungs of that ladder, and it should be at the higher rungs. Like, we don't want people fighting over.
How many people do you know that are complaining about being unable to get jobs that illegal immigrants have? Have you ever heard anybody in your life say it? Have you heard a single person in your entire life ever say, God, I really wanted to be a berry picker, or I really wanted to work, I really wanted to go roofing this summer, or I really wanted to do some other like low skill manual labor, paid under the table cash job, but there are so many illegal immigrants that are working these jobs. There's way too much competition. I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know if you're like just stuck in your bubble, but there's a lot of low skilled people that work in roofing, construction jobs. That's a super normal thing in the construction trade. I remodeled 2 houses I flipped this year, and literally what you do is you hunt for bids. You get the lowest bid. There's illegal to roof one of my houses here in Washington because they were way cheaper than the other bids that we got. It's a super common thing. So
wait. How did you even know they were illegal?
I guess I don't 100%. But,
no, not 100%. You don't know 0%. You have no idea. How would you even possibly know their immigration status? You have no idea.
We can make assumptions and whatever, but sure, I guess you're technically right. I don't know they're legal. But this is what happened. You said that this is
made a claim that he was going to make a vote depending on policy. And when I then said, so if the policy fails, you'll vote for someone else. And he said, no, actually the policy doesn't matter. That's the difference. I'm not making that claim.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a completely different thing.
I mean, the same can be said to take one example of a story of a person who sounds like an idiot, to say that and then categorize everybody in Trump is selective hearing, to say
that's not what I'm doing.
That's selective for you. Well, you are kind of doing that. You're saying here's a Republican voter who you ask, why are you thinking about voting for Trump? Oh, because he's building the wall. Then you said, if he doesn't build the wall, well, I would never vote for a Democrat. Well, do you care if the wall ever gets built? No, I don't care. I'm going to vote for him anyways. Well, that doesn't sound like a reasonable voter to me, though.
That's right. He's not a reasonable voter.
Well, the reasonable voters to me was also, if you were to ask the average person who voted for Biden,
sure,
they didn't vote for Biden.
Okay.
They voted against Trump.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I'd have to look at exit polls. Is that true?
So is that what you go to?
For something like
that. For
a
guy who, if this is your space, what's your podcast about?
What is it about?
What's your show?
I don't know if Pacman's just scared of like biting a bullet. It's so easy to just say yes. You can say that. Yeah, of course some people just voted against Trump, but it's a 2-vote system. You can vote against somebody. There's nothing wrong with that.
About
news and politics?
You should know this stuff. You're the expert. I just don't
remember that offhand.
How do you find it right now? But this is your world. Like if you ask me questions on business, I'm going to say, let me give you my feedback on what I think about business.
Yeah.
You invite me on your podcast, and Pat, I want to talk about business.
Let's do that.
I have no problem with it to do that part. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're coming here saying what you're saying,
sure,
and then I ask you a simple question of, so the same thing can be said about people that voted for Biden. Yeah, I'm going to vote for anybody. Dude, nobody would show up when Biden would speak. Did you not see his tour when he was going campaigning?
Patrick, you're not really doing this, are you? You're doing this?
I'm actually curious where you're going to go now.
Biden wasn't even doing events where, this is the Biden one from the basement thing. I have a counter.
Okay.
News and politics?
You should know this stuff.
He calls it out right to David Pacman's face.
And then I ask you a question and I say, so why do people vote for Biden? Many of them voted because they just didn't want Trump. Yeah, I don't know the numbers on that. You should know those numbers. The only credit, well, at this point, you've lost credibility to talk about polls because you don't even know what you're talking about.
He completely just points out explicitly what he's doing and the hypocrisy of the game that he's playing.
With the middle, the independent libertarians, would they have chosen to stick with Trump, or would most have wanted to replace him with somebody else?
It's a polling question. I don't have the data.
Well, you're the poll guy, so I'm asking you.
I don't have the data.
So notice how often David Pacman says, I don't have the data, so there's no way I can respond to that. But oftentimes the logic is the evidence. We can still follow the logic and contend with these ideas and make a case.
If we go by Gallup opinion survey, what other countries think of the U.S.
There seems to be an emphasis with David Pacman on what other people think, aka polls.
I don't know where you're getting that we are no longer feared.
So you think people fear Biden?
What I'm asking you is what data do you have that we are no longer feared?
Well, that's not it. That's what data is not any data to give. I mean,
how do you know it is?
Well, no, but I know something is true based upon logical reasoning. If it makes logical sense, there's probably a sound argument to be made.
I don't like it when people just say logical and rational and it's logic and it's sound and it's just like So every time I say like, oh, this is logical, I have to also say like, when I say logical, I mean like deductively true from, you know, whatever premises. People just say people say logical when they want to say like my side is definitely right, and I know I'm right because I said logical more than you did, and it's like, okay.
Direct observations with what I see going on in the world.
Russia felt comfortable bullying Ukraine during Biden is, even if you look at Afghanistan and the way we left, people on the left were not happy by the way we left Afghanistan.
Which
even 82 billion, I can give you a lot of different names.
Like
the CIA.
Oh, now he wants names. But later, if you provide names, he's going to claim that's anecdotal.
I decided to vote for Trump, and I was sort of done with Trump. Now I'm back on Biden.
Yeah,
we see so many stories like that. These independents.
That's an anecdote. And so I think anecdotes are fine. But one of the
Yeah, but this is not a good performance. Because David, you said somebody called into my program and said this, right? That was your
things that is important is that to zoom out from anecdotes and to look at the broader data.
At the end of the day, polls are secondary to logic. But when you ask David Pacman to contend with the basic logic,
polls are secondary to logic. These two things inhabit totally different things. Like these are of a different kind of thing. That's like saying, what's better, cars or the number 7? Like cars are better than 7. Like that doesn't make any sense. What?
a question, you'll claim, well, I can't do it without any data or evidence or polls. When you provide examples, evidence, you'll claim that that's tangential evidence.
Why would the independents, the ones in the middle, why would they have still chosen Trump over Biden?
I have no idea. You'd have to talk to them. I don't know.
That's an important question to ask, and we can logically think it through. And David Pacman just dismisses it.
It's not logically think it through. Or if you want to say in specific, I guess, logical reasoning terms, you could say we could probably make inferences based on anecdote, or we can make inferences based on the media consumption or whatever. But, oh, God, I hate people that abuse these words. Logical. It's logical. We can logically, logic. What are we talking? What do you mean?
By saying, I have no idea. He does not want to contend with this.
If you were to ask the average person who voted for Biden,
sure,
they didn't vote for Biden.
Okay.
They voted against Trump.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I'd have to look at exit polls.
Okay,
So
he can't even address the logic of that case. I don't know. I'd have to see exit polls to be able to even contend with this logic. It's like, and I think this is where it really breaks down, and Patrick has had enough and turns the tables.
If this is your space,
yeah,
what's your podcast about?
What is it about?
What's your show about?
News and politics.
You should know this stuff. You're the expert.
I just don't remember that offhand.
You need to be able to contend with the logic around these ideas without
the logic
exiting the back door. He's like, this is what you do for a living. These are basic concepts. Surely you can contend with this logic.
Find it right now.
But this is your world. Like if you ask me questions on business, I'm going to say, let me give you my feedback on what I think about business.
Yeah.
You invite me on your podcast, and Pat, I want to talk about business.
Let's do that.
I have no problem with it to do that part. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're coming here saying what you're saying,
sure,
and then I ask you a simple question of, so the same thing can be said about people that voted for Biden. Yeah, I'm going to vote for anybody. Dude, nobody would show up when Biden would speak. Did you not see his tour when he was going campaigning?
Patrick, you're not really doing this, are you?
You're doing this? I'm actually curious where you're going to go now.
This is trying to control the frame when you get cornered by being condescending as though you're above it all. Patrick, you're not really doing this though, because he's getting cornered, he's getting called out, and he's just going to try and dismiss it as beneath him. This is a very common tactic. Patrick, stop it. Don't do it. Luke Beasley did the exact same, something very similar in that last debate.
If you can't define any data, stop it. If I define it. If I stop define right wing. If I took the time to properly write out a definition.
So why do people vote for Biden? Many of them voted.
Why does this happen? I know why it happens, because you have the conclusion first and then you go and you shop for the opinions to make it match. I think David Pacman's performance here is not good. I think he's made like several like huge follies. Luke, however, eviscerated Tim Pool. It wasn't even close. So the type of mind that thinks that David Pacman and Luke both did bad is somebody who's shopping for their opinions because of the political bias, not because they're actually analyzing the content of what's being said.
Define it. If I stop define right wing. If I took the time to properly write out a definition.
So why do people vote for Biden? Many of them voted because they just didn't want Trump. Yeah, I don't know the numbers on that. You should know those numbers.
What? I just don't know that offhand. I mean, we can look it up. Why do I need to memorize?
Can I make a quick?
And David refuses to contend with it. Patrick does not let him off of those rails. He keeps focused and wrestles with it and continues to wrestle with it.
This is so silly.
No, but what's silly is for you to assume people voted for Biden. They voted against Trump is what they did.
No, they did. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but what you just said.
I said it over the percentages.
But
all I'm saying is that
it's your world.
Because the logic is so simple. The only option that David has is to act like it's beneath him.
Can I get a statement now? Okay. If I were on the right, I would stop saying that because it's embarrassing to Trump that he lost to a guy who hid in his basement.
It's not.
That's the crazy thing.
So now it's true that Biden did hide. He only contends with it when it suits the story that he wants to be true.
Your guy, Joe Biden, is the greatest hide and go seek champion of all time.
Wait, he's not your president?
What a surface level silly semantic game to play there. Dealing in distraction.
He's my president.
Oh, okay. He's our president.
But he's your guy. He's the guy you're defending. You're defending him right now to say
only that he's better than Trump because you're making me do this.
Because you're making me do this. PBD is not letting him off. He is staying focused on this, but another example of how this is beneath him in his view.
Even the liberals today are not saying he's better than Trump in executing or taking action or doing anything.
Let's find out.
What are these? Why does he have these Adobe After Effects?
Are not saying he's better than Trump in executing or taking action or doing anything.
Let's find out.
He brings in the need for polling data. This did not age well. Biden was actually removed.
The only credit. Well, at this point, you've lost credibility to talk about polls because you don't even know what you're talking about when you're saying. I don't know if the people are voting against Trump. Let's find a poll.
It's the perfect example of how just refusing to engage. If I stick my head in the sand and just don't look at it, the story will go away, and Biden will be smart and articulate.
You can't agree to that.
I don't know how many. Of course they would.
It's not a matter of how many people thought this way. We're never going to be able to know that. That's why polls are unreliable. We can't know what people are thinking. We can't measure that. It's more effective to be able to measure the potential that people are going to think this way.
Yeah, it's not rare as a view on the American right that is generally Who cares what other countries think? I would almost rather they hate us.
So David gives a general view, and Patrick asks for the data. He flips the game on David Pacman here.
That's really common.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
what you were saying.
Th-
I
I'm-
want to see a poll on that. Do you have a poll on that?
Not offhand.
Then how could you, why, do you have a poll? Give me a poll.
And you can't say this if you don't have a poll. He turns the tables on him and uses his own technique against him to great effect.
Patrick,
But no, give me a poll because that's an anecdote now.
we can use this
But no,
to stop any conversation.
but-
Really interesting here is that David Pacman acknowledges the fact that you can use this technique to stop any conversation, which is why he does it.
You're doing that, but that's what you're
But
doing,
you
though.
just did it with
But
polls about
but
liberals
you're the
no
expert.
longer.
You're
Like,
a political expert. I'm not.
Come on, this
You're
is
a political
so
expert. What you just did,
so
no, you're being silly. So I'm giving you exactly what you've been doing for the first 30 minutes. Now it officially bothers you.
That's what you were doing for the first 30 minutes. He exposes the game that David Pacman has been playing.
I think it's silly. I think we don't get anywhere.
But wait a minute.
He acknowledges how silly it is. He acknowledges that it doesn't get us anywhere.
But what you're saying is that if the argument you give us is show me a poll,
Yeah.
show it to me. You can't do it.
There's a difference between saying that there's a specific opinion among voters that they were motivated by a
Stop.
particular reason. You have polling on that.
You
We
like
just
to
have to find it.
You like to use that, but not when it works against you.
David Pacman does not know what to do when the tables are turned and his own game is flipped upon him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Patrick, I'm verklempt.
Yeah. You and I both.
You and Linda Richmond.
We're going tangent where we can't really drill down on any one issue.
And that is the game that David Pacman plays. He maps everything out as a tangent, so that you cannot drill down on a single topic. That's how he evades.
Okay. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but this Warren dude got mind fucked much like Brett Weinstein. Sorry to spam this. How did both of the Weinsteins go fucking crazy? What the fuck is happening in this world right now? Is Brett, is he the one that does the vaccine stuff, or is that, yeah. Maybe there is, maybe I'm just getting like biased clips. Where did I see this at? Him and his wife were talking about how buried electric cables might be messing with the Earth's magnetic. Oh, is it?
So this is the cartoonist. There's a very strange documentary about him and his very odd family. But anyway, he's the guy who made the famous "Keep on Truckin'" with the guy with his giant foot sticking forward. But anyway, I think the wire point. This is a kludge that was appended to society when we went electric, and the fact is, it's time for us to update this so that we are not suffering psychologically from having to look at these terrible things, and that we get the benefits of a robust system that is shielded by the Earth.
If I may make things more complicated,
Sure.
I wonder how the wires underground affect the electrical field, magnetic.
I
and
think
electrical field in Earth.
I think it improves it because I think the Earth is a better block. Oh, but you're saying close proximity?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be. I don't think if you are grounding, if you feel benefits from being barefoot on the Earth where you are, and feel that it enforces your localness, and I do, and I think any human who had been raised where I was raised watching this would be affected right now. But I think I'm particularly focused on place. I always want to know when I'm talking to someone remotely, where are you? Where are you in the world right now? But I think grounding specifically gives your body information about where you are, and information that we have not yet been able to decipher about, therefore about what is to come. And I wonder if
Did he suffer massive brain damage or something? Isn't he like a biology PhD? Even worse, my dude. I'm pretty sure these are both PhDs.
putting the wires on the ground would affect that. I don't know.
Well, let's just put it this way. To the extent that electromagnetic radiation is a problem, there's a question about where is it least problematic.
Yes.
And
Very much so.
Going overhead is not marvelous.
True.
I would also suggest, I'm now out of my depth, but likely if you were going to put it underground, you could put it in a way that was shielded.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's an empirical question there that you and I are not expert enough to talk about. I did want to point out that one of the glaring facts of recent disasters is, and we don't yet know how this disaster will be treated, but I think we can have a pretty good guess based on the fact that it's in LA, and LA is what
The Weinstein brothers are intellectual Steven Seagals.
it is. The intolerable thing is that the treatment of Americans who lose everything in a disaster is so highly variable, and that effectively what you want, ideally, if you want a system that works, you want people not to suffer from bad luck. Bad decisions, you should suffer. And that if you do that, we evolve towards making wiser decisions. But bad luck is something that we should hedge out by making a risk pool. And insurance is supposed to do this, but private insurance does not, because private insurance, for-profit insurance,
Jesus, man.
recently at a conference in Romania on the COVID crisis. And so there was a lot of work trying to unpack what we actually understand. And I saw a credible estimate of something like 17 million deaths globally from this technology. So
17 million deaths from the COVID vax?
well, when you scale up to billions, it's not hard to reach a number like that with a technology that's dangerous. Now, to your deeper question, I think
And by the way, these are not our subtitles. They're a mess, but I just want to make clear these are not our subtitles.
Steelman.
So just for perspective, I mean, that's like the death toll of a global war.
Yes, absolutely. This is a great tragedy of history. So that proportion. And amazingly, there's no way in which it's over. I mean, we are still apparently recommending these things for healthy children ever.
You got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So
There's
let's
no
get
cell
it.
service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids. Losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why is there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally.
Get her some containers to carry some water around.
You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people are safe.
Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact information?
Right there.
I've never been more black-pilled than seeing right-wingers exploit this tragedy. Imagine if California was a red state and how ass-mad they would be at liberals. Yep. You would never, ever, ever see somebody do this type of shit in any of the Carolinas, in fucking Georgia, in fucking Florida. Not only would you never see them do this, somehow it's still the president's fault, right? Imagine if there were videos of people running up to the governors of any of the states impacted by the hurricane, being like, why weren't you prepared? Why weren't you prepared? What was going on? Instead, somehow it was like Biden's fault or the Jewish hurricane machine's faults. And then even when a Republican state up and their shit up, like what happened in Texas, it wasn't Greg Abbott's fault. It was the windmills. It's stupid.
An apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely?
For being like, what was she supposed to be there fighting the fire? Or what did she do? What does this even mean? Destiny, Florida has their shit together, unlike California. Power was restored within 1 week, and building codes were updated years ago to reinforce roofs. Insurance companies aren't having to flee the state like in California. Excuse me? Wasn't there a massive exodus of insurance companies from Florida? And isn't there a ton of coastal property that's literally sinking into the fucking ocean? Florida's insurance crisis is the result of several factors, including hurricanes and litigation, that have caused home insurance companies to pull back, leave the state, or even go out of business. Homeowners in Florida face some of the highest home insurance rates in the nation with dwindling coverage options. What are you talking about? The reason why you think it's better in Florida than in California is because you believe whatever Republicans put on TV in front of you. That's why. is because if they complain about how horrible California's doing and how great Florida's doing, you just believe that because you have no idea. You have no basis for even evaluating that statement. You don't even know what it means for a state to good. I don't even know what it means for a state to do good. Like it's a meaningless statement. Like California doesn't have its shit together. California is like the 5th largest GDP in the world or whatever. It was a country. In what way did they not have their shit together? What does that even mean? Because they have fires, wildfires? That means they don't have their shit together? That's such an insane statement. There's a billion things involved in the running of a state. What do you mean they don't have their shit together? It doesn't make any sense. You're just repeating what you've been told.
Nothing to say to the citizens today. Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
What was the budget changed from what to what? This is what I wanted to read about today. Did LA change fire budget? A month before fires, LA fire chief warned budget cuts were hampering emergency response. Before wildfires broke out, what is the date of this? January 9th, 2025. Before wildfires broke out across Los Angeles, the city's fire chief said that the budget cuts were hampering the department's ability to respond to emergencies. A department memo shows. Funding for the city's fire department decreased by $17.6 million, or 2%, between the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year and the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year, according to city budget documents. However, the city council in November approved a 4-year, $203 million contract with the firefighters union to help boost wages and health benefits for staff, drawing from the budget's general fund. When it says 4-year, $203 million contract, does that mean that each year was like $50 million? The budget cuts drew criticism as firefighters scrambled to contain the ongoing fires. In a December 4th memo, LAFD Fire Chief Kristen Crowley wrote to the Board of Fire Commissioners that the budget cuts have adversely affected the department's ability to maintain core operations. Crowley said that a $7 million reduction in overtime hours severely limited the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies. Oh, bro. Emergency services are like, as retarded as you guys are about like housing and healthcare, like ordinary citizens are about emergency services. Like police officers and firefighters will literally come out and they'll be like, the fact that I can't retire with a pension that's 3 times higher than my wage means that innocent Americans are going to die. Like, it is literally the most unhinged. Now, to be fair, they should be unhinged. It's a union and they're there to represent their employees. And I think they should fight as hard as they can. And that's great. And that's fine. But like when people read stuff like that, they're like, oh my God, we cut funding for overtime hours. How the f are they going to respond to a single f***ing fire? It's over. What? The cuts, Crowley wrote in a memo from July 2024, resulted from eliminating 58 positions, adjusting sworn salary accounts, and removing one-time expenses. Some have pointed to the one-time expenses, such as the purchase of new breathing equipment for firefighters, as one reason, typo, why there may have been a reduction in the current fiscal year's budget compared to the year before. When asked about the budget cuts at Thursday morning's press conference, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said they did not impact the department's ability to handle the ongoing fires. There were no reductions that were made. She also emphasized the additional funds the department was set to receive from the city's contract with the union. The unprecedented windstorm, wind at such ferocity that we haven't seen in years, is the context in which we were dealing with this. Crowley and the Board of Fire Commissioners' office did not immediately respond to a request for comment at the board's December 17th meeting. To President Genethia Hudley Hayes acknowledged the funding and staffing issues. Destiny, it wasn't even the LA government's job. The fire started in National Park, which is governed and controlled by the U.S. Forest Services. The brush was meant to be cleared before this fire season started. LA knew this fire was possible. It's an every year possibility. The U.S. Forest Service was hampered by funding from the government, which stopped them from getting to LA. It's not unfair to say that we were in a crisis mode within the LAFD, Hudley said. Anyone who knows, okay. The fire department overspent by an estimated $66.6 million in the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. This year's budget shows, with unbudgeted contracts, unused sick time, and overtime accounting for much of the overspending. In a statement when the budget was approved, Bass said that the city budget acted as a reset. This budget serves as a reset, blah, 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 okay. Is it not fair to criticize a state that has rampant wildfires to have enhanced firefighting services? Like, you know that after this, the budget for this stuff and services are going to be enhanced significantly, almost as if it should have been better to begin with. Well, my understanding is that this is like a pretty unprecedented amount of damage, but also the fact that, like, how do you staff for this? like, I don't know if you could always have on hand the amount of staff necessary to deal with something like this. I don't know if that would even be reasonable, but can't you do a ton of things with dead tree removal and fire prevention? I don't know enough to, I'm not a fire expert. I heard at one point in time that like doing a whole bunch of brush removal is really important, but then I've heard other people say that if you remove all the brush, it's actually really bad. And that the counter argument is that like fire is part of the circle of life. That like you are supposed to have fires to come in and clear shit out, and it like resets growth in different environments, and like you like fires are just like part of that ecosystem, and they're supposed to happen. You just don't want them to be fucking massive and out of control, basically. So I don't know what is like a controlled fire or how much it's supposed to be, or I have no idea. So okay, sorry, hold on, lots of links. Is this memo just here's every single thing our budget pays for, and all of it's going to be worse? Okay, good one. This is every single thing that we do in operations, and all of these things are going to be worse if we don't have more money. Based. What a god tier memo. Okay, I'm here for it. What is this? In the wake of the, is it Palisades? I don't even know how this is pronounced. I should. Do you see the Kasparian echo the Trump talking point about dumping all the water into the ocean? Wait, where do you see that at? Wait, what? Link. Raking the forest is retarded and could eventually kill us all. Splitting the city is just more bang of brain rot and is tricking Dems all across the country. This is actually dangerous rhetoric and needs to be combated. I am an ISA certified abortionist. What does that mean? It kills trees, which means I specialize in tree care. Part of this training is a general understanding of soil science, and continuing education for the certification is entrenched in eco-science, municipal forest management, and something called the wildlife-urban interface, or the WUI for short. One of the mutually essential layers of soil is called the organic matter layer. There are countless benefits to this layer, and we cannot lose it and have healthy forests. You might be thinking, that's mildly interesting, but why is this dude spurging out about this? It's because the own layer is made by life existing above the ground, leaves, wood, poop, flesh, and bones from animals, basically dead things that used to be alive. And if Donald somehow convinces the country that it's a good idea to remove all of that, we will be destroying our forests faster than wildfires can dream. If we destroy our forests and all our soil, then we destroy everything. I also believe it would contribute massively to climate change. We lost water. Okay.
About, obviously it's a challenge right now.
I don't trust any of them. God damn it. My mind is so poisoned. I don't trust any of the sign language people. I'm worried they're all faking it now.
About, obviously it's a challenge right now. They're bringing in firefighters from all across the Western region. But can you address the criticism now over the budget issue and the slashing, $17 million?
I think if you go back and look at the reductions that were made, there were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days. And then there was a little bit of confusion because money was allocated to be distributed later on, which was actually going to support salaries and other parts of the fire department that were distributed a little later. So I think it's most important to understand that we were in tough budgetary times. Everybody knew that, but that the impact of our budget really did not impact what we've been going through over the last few days. Again, back to the unprecedented windstorm, wind at such ferocity that we haven't seen in years, is the context in which we were dealing with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Environmental rules stoke anger as California lets precious stormwater wash out to sea. What does this have to do with 2023? Environmental rules designed to protect imperiled fish in the Sacramento San Joaquin River Delta have ignited anger among a group of bipartisan lawmakers who say too much of California's stormwater is being washed out to sea instead of being pumped to reservoirs and aqueducts. Why would California pump? I don't know anything about this. I would imagine that, like, in California, stormwater and stuff would all be, like, important, like non-salt water, but maybe, I don't know. In a series of strongly worded letters, nearly a dozen legislators, many from drought-starved agriculture regions of the Central Valley, have implored state and federal officials to relax environmental pumping restrictions that are limiting the amount of water captured from the Delta. When Mother Nature blesses us with rain, we need to save the water instead of dumping it into the ocean. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Huh. Since the beginning of January, a series of atmospheric rivers has disgorged trillions of gallons of much-needed moisture across drought-stricken California, but only a small fraction of that water has so far made it into storage. In the Delta, the heart of the state's vast water system, nearly 95% of incoming water has flowed into the Pacific Ocean. Jeez. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. While the Delta provides drinking water for about 27 million Californians and supports the state's massive agriculture industry, it is also a delicate ecosystem that is home to threatened and endangered species, many of which have been suffering amid warming waters, increasing salinity, dangerously low flows, and other ecological stressors. The tiny delta smelt are dangerously close to extinction. State and federal water managers said that they've been complying with environmental regulations designed to protect those species, including a so-called first flush protocol that mandates 2 weeks of reduced pumping at the onset of the first big winter storms. Gotcha. This was when California was getting like massive amounts of I think rain or whatever. No, LA didn't refuse to fill water reservoirs prior to fires. Firefighters were experiencing water shortages from hydrants because LA's tanks couldn't be refilled as fast as water was being used. Fierce Santa Ana winds have hit Southern California, which hasn't seen more than 0.1 inches of rain since early May. This has led to an outbreak of devastating wildfires, one of which, a fire burning in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, is already the most destructive in the modern history of LA. The high winds have made it difficult enough for the firefighters to combat the blazes, but those difficulties have been compounded by apparent water shortages. Social media posts, including this one, viewed more than 5 million times, claim that fire hydrants ran out of water because the city and/or county refused to refill the reservoirs.
Misinformation often spreads during emergencies, like the California wildfires. So our Verify team has been tracking claims online to fact-check them.
Why does there always need to be something to blame a natural disaster on? Like, why can't we just assume that this is mostly a really unlucky sequence of events? I mean, it's okay to do like a disaster analysis. Like, I think that's fine. Like, I think we can try to figure out like, well, what happened? But people want to make things conservatives are fucking crazy. That's it.
Our Verify team has been tracking claims online to fact-check them. First, is it true that Los Angeles recently cut the budget of its fire department? Yes, we can verify that's true. Last year's budget for the city of LA allocated just over $837 million to fire. The current budget allocates just under $820 million.
Fuck.
$17.5 million fewer dollars, about a 2% cut. Second, are firefighters running out of water because the city refused to fill up its reservoirs? No, that is false. A local water policy expert told Verify, quote, "At no time during this fire has there been a shortage of water in Southern California. Their reservoirs are..."
I have no idea if this bit is good. What do you mean? It's called Verify. How could it be wrong, dipshit?
Full. The issue, according to the water department, isn't a lack of water, it's getting the water where it needs to go. Demand is so high right now that as water travels through the pipes leaving the reservoir, a lot of it gets used up by firefighters who are closer to the source before it can reach crews and tanks that are farther away. The city is working to help those crews by using water trucks. And third, is this video of a man trying to rescue a rabbit from the flames from the LA fires? We can verify this is also false. Using reverse search tools, we found the video is not from the current fires. It was recorded and posted 8 years ago. That fire also took place in Southern California, and the man successfully rescued the rabbit. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Wow. Stop. Fundamentally, it's not correct that Lad Whoop refused to properly fill the reservoir needed to fight the fire. A spokesperson for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power told Verify. On Monday, the LA DWP filled all available water storage facility tanks, around 114 throughout the city, including 3 1 million gallon tanks in the Palisades area. Jeffrey Mount, senior fellow at the PBIC Water Policy Center, a think tank that tracks water use and storage data in California, told Verify that there isn't a shortage of water in the area's reservoirs. At no time during this fire has there been a shortage of water in Southern California. Mount said, okay. Homes and fire hydrants in the Pacific Palisades both pull their water from the area's storage tanks, which get their water from several sources, including reservoirs. Even if the city has plenty of water available, an area's fire hydrants will run out of water if the tanks aren't being refilled at the same rate the water is being used. Damn, it's a bottleneck issue. The chat bleeds off screen. I beg you, fix it. What chat? Where? The chat bleeds off screen. You mean like it's covered up a little bit by the overlay? Is that what you mean? There you go, dipshit. One letter on the left of DGG chat. Oh. Wait, what the fuck? Hold on. Wait, no, it's not. You mean because it's not showing like flares or? Wait, it what? Okay, I don't know. Oh, hopefully it's better now. Good luck. Oh, the second line gets cut off when somebody sends multiple things. Ooh. I wonder why. That's interesting. Fuck. I don't know why that happens. Good luck.
Excuse me.
The fuck is this?
Lawrence.
Destiny, have you heard about the Resnicks? They own most of the water rights in California. They are a farming billionaire family. Okay, what about it?
So, I mean, what's going through your mind?
Oh, is that who the left is blaming for this? The right's blaming the government and the left are blaming the billionaires?
Oh my gosh. This is my whole life right here. You know, I spent my whole life savings to buy a condo here. And so I lost my family during COVID. And so I don't really have anybody to call or anything. So it feels a little bit scary, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are people still in the complex?
A lot of people have left, but a lot of people are staying too, you know. I think we're going to be okay. I hope so. I mean, all these fire trucks are going up there, but you know, you never know. I mean, you got all these mansions right here.
See, if he was a rentoid instead of or if he was a renter Chad, a Sigma renter instead of a mortgageoid, a condoid. Now he's fucked. But if he was a rentoid, you just walk the fuck away and you let your landlord loser deal with it.
If they catch on fires, we're in real trouble.
What's your plan? Are you staying?
I'm gonna stay right until it catches. If it catches on fire, I'll leave. Yeah, I have my 2 Bengal cats in here, and I don't know, they're freaking out. So I'd have to take them with me, but I don't know where I would go. Just in my car, I guess.
Karen Bass did not cut $17 million from the fire budget. LA is busy today with better things to do than feed your budget appropriation, so I will. In 2023, the department spent $12 million on new SCBAs because the old set expired. This was not a reoccurring expense. Let's see. All remaining components, service parts, and support would be purchased immediately in fiscal year 23 to 24, pending approval of approximately $12 million for the budget underway. The vendor is committed to securing current price. I don't know. They also finished purchases of new turnouts, firefighting suits that cost $2.5 million. $15.5 million was spent in 2023 that isn't being spent in the 24 to 25 year because of the equipment isn't replaced every year. That wasn't a budget cut. This change is seen in the operating supply section of the budget, which you should have a look at. The changes in salary spending are also clear. $4 million was reduced from non-firefighter salaries and moved to contract services. This is partly to cover the 73 vacant non-firefighter positions and to cover firefighter salaries. The budget changes to firefighter salaries and overtime reflect the staffing, firefighters like overtime pay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then finally, California, and especially LA, is controlled by Democrats. They are responsible. No more passing the buck. Our mayor, who was in Ghana as fires exploded in our city, cut the fire budget by $17 million. Endless amounts of money funneled to bullshit, scammer, homeless nonprofits. We're the highest taxed, yet we have encampments and squalor everywhere. Even worse, we don't have enough firefighters to respond to the absolute disaster we're experiencing right now. Rather than conserve the record rain we got last year, we just drained it into the ocean. We are a failing city run by a sick excuse for local government. You want to radicalize people against the modern Democratic Party? Send them to L.A.
Billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water.
Oh, cool. This guy. Wait, did the pro-genocide degenerate fucking paid off by foreign enemies? Another guy, second thought? Did he make a new YouTube account, or is this just a channel retweeting his videos?
40 million Californians suffer through unprecedented drought. One billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water system, seized in a series of secretive meetings 2 decades ago. That system was largely paid for by the very taxpayers whose water these billionaires hold hostage. Urban water systems are desperate for water, but in 2023, they'll receive just 5% of what they requested from the state. The Resnicks are the biggest farmers in California.
I love this guy doesn't have a source for any claim ever. Like, he doesn't even try to pretend that he's being like objective or factual. This is just a pure propaganda bullshit. I love it. I love this guy.
As of 2007, they owned 4 San Francisco's worth of farmland, and nearly half of Americans buy at least one of their products. Their pistachios, their pomegranate juice, their mandarins, their flowers. It's all under one massive umbrella, the Wonderful Company, a privately owned company worth at least $5 billion. The majority owners, the Resnicks, are worth at least $8 billion. How were they able to take over such a large percentage of what should be a shared public resource?
Well, it sounds to me like if they have a ton of land that's dedicated to agriculture, they would probably be using a ton of water. Doesn't that just like logically follow? Isn't that like just like these people have a bunch of agriculture, aggravated? You wouldn't call it aggravated. A bunch of agriculture land, and usually that needs water. Therefore, most water would go to them. Like, doesn't that just kind of like follow? Or is there a thing I'm missing? He's gonna connect it, I think. Yeah.
This is the classroom from More Perfect Union, and today we're looking at how the Resnicks got rich. Linda is a former child actress, the daughter of Jack Harris, a successful movie distributor of the 1950s, most well known for The Blob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
At 19, she founded her own advertising agency. Stewart was born to a middle-class New Jersey family and started his first business, a janitorial service, in grad school. He eventually acquired American Protection Services, a burglar alarm and security company. Linda approached him about marketing services for the company, and they hit it off, not knowing that one day they'd work together to take over California's water. The lovebirds became business partners.
But they get first dibs over cities? Is the city like running out of water? Is this happening a lot, or? The way water ownership works in California is supposedly super weird and dated. I wouldn't surprise me, but I feel like a lot of stuff is, but...
They bought Teleflora, the flower delivery company, and the Franklin Mint, purveyors of inane little tchotchkes. Linda was the marketing person, and Stewart was in charge of business. As Linda told the LA Times in 1993, "I've always said that Stewart and I together make one perfect person." Like,
yes, when we have droughts. Do you think that a drought means none of the houses have water?
Like little salt and pepper shakers. In the late 80s, they found their primary industry, agriculture. They got into the pistachio business. Linda said, "We've done more for the pistachio than anyone ever since it was planted in the Garden of Eden. My husband should be canonized for all the work he's done." They started branching into other products, almonds, pomegranates, citrus, wine, and acquiring more and more land to cover it, including some very important land in Kern County, which granted them water rights in the area. As the Resnicks were building their empire, the state of California was building new water infrastructure with taxpayer money. California's natural water supply is very inconsistent. Vastly differing amounts of rainfall means the state can go from surplus to drought and back very easily. So they build water banks to store water during surpluses to have during droughts. One important storage facility is the Kern Water Bank, started in 1988. The facility was built with hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, which could have been a good thing. The people of California would have owned the water. But there were two Californians thirstier than the rest, and they wanted more water. Linda and Stewart Resnick, and they had a lot of political power. We'll get to that. In 1994, state water officials, water infrastructure contractors, and agricultural landowners with water rights arranged a secretive meeting at a resort in Monterey Bay, California. These groups, a mix of private companies and public agencies, rewrote California's water rules without any input from voters, taxpayers, or legislators. The new rules, called the Monterey Plus Agreement.
Oh, we're finally sourcing something. Okay. Or is this even a thing that... The Monterey Agreement. Statement of Principles by the... For a quarter century of SECA litigation over the validity of an agreement between the Department of Water Resources and state water project contractors finally came to an end with the Court of Appeals decision in Central Delta Water Agency v. Department of Water Resources, and the California Supreme Court's denial of a petition for review of that decision. Court of Appeals, this is all within California, right? None of this has gone federal, I think. 94, the Department of Water Resources entered into an agreement with state water project contractors called the Monterey Agreement in an effort to settle disputes over water allocations under long-term water supply contracts. Broadly, the Monterey Agreement modified formulas incorporated in the contracts for allocating water among SWP contractors, changed certain operations of SWP facilities, and provided for the transfer of 20,000 acres of farmland for development of a water bank in Kern County. Opponents challenged the legal adequacy of the program EIR, that means on the agreement. Court of Appeals and Planning found that the EIR violated SECA because it had been prepared by two DWR contractors rather than DWR Department of Water Resources as lead agency, and continuation of a former contract provision relating to reduction in contractor entitlements in the event of a permanent water shortage should have been evaluated as a no project alternative. Okay. Continuation of a former contract provision relating to reduction in contractor entitlements in the event of a permanent water shortage as a no project alternative. The court ordered DWR to prepare a new EIR, something, what does EIR stand for? The court ordered DWR to prepare a new EIR that did not, trial court, trial court, after product negotiations, parties entered into a settlement agreement which identified necessary contents in the EIR. So it sounds like contractors wrote up an agreement for, I guess, how to distribute water, who I'm guessing these contractors had some sort of arrangement with the state over, I guess, how much water was going to ag land or not.
Where the Monterey Amendments were devastating for working Californians and great for agriculture billionaires.
Devastating for them how?
Were devastating for working Californians and great for agriculture billionaires. The original code included urban preference, a long-standing rule that in times of drought, the state water board would give urban areas, where people live, access to water supplies before agricultural interests. Monterey axed that. That means that in times of drought, the water systems for normal Californians would have to buy water from private companies because they weren't getting it from the state. The new agreement also loosened regulations on paper water. That's water that doesn't necessarily exist anywhere but on paper. The full quantities of water that providers could have, but don't actually need to have. Today, 5 times as much water has been promised and sold as actually exists. And importantly, the meeting changed ownership of the Kern Water Bank. What once belonged to the state was transferred to a few private water contractors, one of which was Westside Mutual, a wholly owned subsidiary of Wonderful Foods. The wonderful employee who runs Westside, Bill Phillimore, is the chairman of the public organization that manages the Kern Water Bank. Boom. One secret meeting, and the Resnicks owned nearly 60% of an important California water resource, built with hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money. The new ownership, combined with the rules on paper and surplus water, meant that during times of drought, the Resnicks could sell Kern water back to the state water systems. They took Californian taxpayers' water and sold it back to them, both literally as the water supply and also to grow expensive food like gourmet pistachios and pomegranate juice. They converted the people's water into products many
Gourmet pistachios? Do we hate pistachios now, or
can't afford? And that's just one water bank. The Resnicks also have control of other water boards and have been sued for directing more water towards their properties. So how do they get away with this Chinatown-level chicanery?
Going to be a lot of irate citizens when they find out that they're paying for water that they're not going to get.
With philanthropy. The Resnicks donate millions of dollars to politicians and research institutions, which help them secure control over water systems, and even get more water and more taxpayer funding. One important project is the proposed California Delta Tunnel, a taxpayer-funded project which would send water from Northern California to Central, where the Resnicks farms are. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on state and federal legislation and politicians who support the tunnel project. But their favorite politician is Senator Dianne Feinstein.
You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway.
Chair of the Energy and Water Subcommittee. She's a close personal friend of the Resnicks, attending their holiday parties in Aspen and maintaining their financial interests. A quick look through the bill she sponsored shows several which would direct money to Kern-adjacent water projects. The Resnicks even ask her for things directly. When a pesky study about endangering salmon and shad fisheries threatened the Delta Tunnel, Stewart wrote a letter to Feinstein demanding a new study. She immediately forwarded it to the Obama administration, who agreed to spend $750,000 on a new study.
That's crazy, dude.